And today we have a great program with Congressman Steve Chabot, 1st District, Ohio, Republican. Congressman Chabot, thank you for joining us. Welcome to TASCTV.
Thank you. I was looking forward to this, and thank you for inviting me.
This is we thank you. This is very special for our community. We want to always hear from members of Congress, both federal government, state government, and local. The Turkish American community is relatively new to America. They came in the 1950s and 60s as they were exported from Turkey to the United States, imported engineers and physicians. Then in the late 90s and through the beginning of the new century, more small business persons and small business owners and what would you call skilled labor came to the United States. So we have between the Turkish and Azerbaijani communities about 1 million. We also, of course, have a huge, healthy Ahıska Turkish American community, such as in Ohio, in Dayton. We have a Tatar, again, another Turkic community. And of course, the Uyghurs of Eastern Turkestan, western part of China. And we're learning a lot about the American democratic system, the process. And I think the best way to start learning for many of us is by speaking to legislators such as yourself. So we have a series of questions provided to us by our viewers, and I can start if you'd like.
Sure, go right ahead. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can. I'll do the best I'm able.
Right on. Well, you're very special to us. Also, I'm from Virginia. You studied in Virginia, and now I'm living in Maryland. You went to William and Mary. I went to Washington and Lee. Yeah. Great schools with a huge heritage. The first question we have is, tell us about how you became interested in, and when you became interested in becoming a member of Congress.
Well, it started all the way back when I was in high school. So I was probably 17 years old. I ran for student council at my local high school, and I won. And so served there, and then I went away to college, and Watergate was going on. And I had voted for Richard Nixon when I turned 18. And then, of course, Nixon got in trouble. And he basically what happened, he was a Republican, and some people from his campaign broke in the other campaign's headquarters in the middle of the night, the Democratic headquarters, and they were going to put phone taps on their phone so they could listen in on what was going on, which was stupid because Nixon was way ahead and didn't need to do anything like that, but they did. Now, Nixon had no idea that these rogue elements were going to do that, so he wasn't at fault for that, but then later on, he participated in the cover-up of this, and so that's what got him, and so he was going to be impeached and removed from office. So, he left office, resigned from office, the only American president ever to do that. Well, why am I bringing this up? Well, I was a college student back in those days, and we were all watching television about what was going on, and most of my age group, the people were turned off by politics. They thought, why would anybody want to go into politics? They're all a bunch of crooks. And but I had just the opposite feeling. I thought we needed people in politics who were honest and just wanted to serve their community and serve the country. So I thought, I think I'm going to try to do that someday. So I went to law school after graduating from William and Mary, because a lot of people in politics have a legal background, and so that's what I did. And then the year I got out of law school, I ran for Cincinnati City Council as an independent, meaning I wasn't with the Republican Party, I wasn't with the Democrats, and I lost. So then I had to pick a party, and I felt my philosophy was more in tune with the Republican philosophy. So I ran again as a Republican, and this time I lost again. So I've run twice, I've lost both times, and I thought, I'm going to try one more time. And I finally won the third time, served on Cincinnati City Council for 5 years. Then I was moved over to the Hamilton County Commission for 5 years, and then I got elected to Congress back in 1994. There were 73 Republicans who ran that year and won. And we took over the House for the first time in 40 years, Republicans did. And I was about 40 years at the time. So my whole life, the Democrats had been in control. So it was a great time to run and win. And of those 73 Republicans, there's only 2 of us left in the House of Representatives out of 73. And one of the other person, Mac Thornberry, who's the head of the Armed Services Committee, he announced last year that he's not running for re-election. So if I win re-election, I'll be the sole member from the class of '94 in the House of Representatives.
Oh, you're die hard.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
well, tell us about a normal day of the member of Congress, your day.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time in meetings. Now, right now, I'm in my campaign headquarters back here in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is, my district. I have most of the city of Cincinnati and then the area around it in one of the counties called Warren County, which is pretty Republican. And since I'm a Republican, that's helpful. Now, the city of Cincinnati itself tends to be more Democratic. So I have challenging races. So I'm working. I was preparing for my debates. I've got 4 debates coming up. The first one's tomorrow night. And so I was preparing for that earlier today. But if I were in Washington, I'd be focused much more on not just getting reelected. I'd be focused on my job. And we have a lot of meetings all day long. I meet with people like Lydia, who may bring the Turkish ambassador to my office, or other people who are visiting from Turkey or other countries around the globe, because I'm on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I'm the co-chairman of the Turkey caucus in Congress. So that's why I care so much about Turkey. That's my responsibility, my position. And our alliance is one of our most critical, particularly in that part of the world, but really over the whole globe. Turkey is a very important ally of ours.
Well, we're going to get to that. Our viewers are interested. What's your favorite part of the job, and what's your least favorite part of the job?
I'd say my favorite part of the job is actually meeting with school groups. I'm a former school teacher, and I take school groups come up from back here, since they go to Washington, usually on a bus, and I give them a tour of the Capitol building. I show them, the paintings and the Declaration of Independence painting and all that kind of stuff, and kind of give them some of the behind the scenes stuff. So having been a teacher myself, I really enjoy trying to let other young people understand why Washington is important to their lives, and what we do in Congress can be important. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good, but I want them to understand all that. That's one of my favorite parts. The thing I least like is in the campaigns nowadays, there's nothing but negative TV commercials, saying how bad you are, twisting things around, just a lot of negativity. That's the thing that I like the least.
Right. Yeah, we would all kind of agree with that, sir. Because, we are the voters, we are the viewers, we are the persons coming to the members of Congress for representative democracy. And we just needed all that communication to be at a much more positive, productive level.
I agree.
So how can people be more effective in getting their message to Congress? We have so much technology today. We have mass emailings, mass phone calling. We have personal letter writing. We have personal emails being sent. We have, media outreach. And of course, district and hill meetings by constituents. What could you say to our community? Our community is a little bit more integrating with America. Mm-hmm. We're new, but we want to be more productive, more active in American democracy. Yeah.
Well, I think it's good to have kind of a strong advocate who knows how the system works and work with that person. I know I've worked with Lydia Borland for many years now, and she knows Turkey issues inside and out, and I rely upon her. I trust her. And so it's good to have a person like that who kind of knows how the system works to help you through it. Now, and it's always good to actually see if you can get an appointment either with the congressman or congresswoman or their staff. A lot of members of Congress don't meet with constituents or advocates of different issues very much. They leave most of that up to their staff. I think it's our responsibility to meet with as many people as possible. So I try to take most of the meetings myself. Now, once in a while, I have other things at the same time, and it just can't be arranged. But in general, I would urge people to try to personally meet with the member of Congress who represents them, if at all possible.
So face to face, putting a face to the words.
That's the best. Now, of course, with COVID, that's much harder to do nowadays. Just like we're doing this virtual,
Right.
gathering today. This is like the next best thing you can do.
Yep.
But I'm hoping that this isn't a permanent situation in our country or across the globe, that sometime in the near future we'll actually be able to meet in person again.
Well, in the Turkish American community, we have a lot of members who are not actually Turkish. Like Lydia's Italian American, spent a great deal of her life in Turkey. And it reminds me, when I started the Turkish Students Union in college, I think I was the only Turk in my college. And I started with 4 Italians. So they made me president, but my vice president was Benvenuto, for example. So it was great. I think that's a reflection of how wonderful America is in its solidarity and diversity, and how that diversity can express itself productively. One thing we want to know in our community is what makes a group effective, and what are common errors made by groups when advocating their position.
Well, I mean, it is important to kind of get your message and your strategy figured out up front. Know who's going to do what talking and make what points. Usually, members of Congress, when they meet with a group, let's say there's 4 people there, and each one wants to speak. Figure out ahead of time what each one's going to say, and kind of time it and practice it. Even write it down. And if you got 4 people, sometimes the meetings are going to be 15 minutes. Sometimes they're going to be a half hour. Figure out how much time you're going to get from the congressman, and then make sure the first person doesn't take up all the time. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make. The first person maybe likes to hear themselves talk or something, and they'll go on for almost all the meeting, and nobody else gets a word in edgewise. So whatever those other important issues were, kind of go unaddressed. So that would be the thing that I see happen, where people go off the rails probably the most.
Well, what democratic institutions would you say that do we have that can defend a position or defend a group that is less organized, let's say, less effective, less funded, but they have something very important to say, and that message has to be heard by the member and the member's colleagues?
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter. There's all kinds of ways to getting the information. You can start out by sending talking points, sending the background material to the staffer up front. What the staffers oftentimes do, they'll put together a report. Maybe a 1-page or 2-page report for the member of Congress to read, so he or she doesn't have to go through all the materials. Now, if I have the time, I like to go through all the materials, ahead of time. So it's kind of the common sense things. And not everybody does these things the same way. But if you want to get your message across to your members of Congress, I would organize it, plan it ahead of time. You could even go through together with a practice run on things. That's done sometimes too.
Yeah. Well, under freedom of speech in general, we have a lot of good things, but we also have a lot of misreporting, exaggeration, or I would say even false reports. And do members have access to information that they can use to ascertain whether the information they're given, written or through media, is accurate? What comes to mind is like the intelligence community. I go down to something called the SCIF periodically. I was down there last week to review things, classified secret information, about a particular country or a particular situation. We always have to leave our iPads and our cameras outside because we don't want China or some other entity who isn't particularly friendly to us to be able to pick up. China may have made that cell phone. There may be some device in there for them to pick up some of our secrets. So we don't want that to happen. So you try to take all the precautions, to make sure that your meeting isn't going to be overheard by some nefarious actors of some sort. And we have Congressional Research Service that we can utilize. My staff does research for me before groups come in. They usually put together a memo on each group that's coming in, so I have pretty good idea about their background.
But you can also get CRS, that's the Congressional Research Service. They are part of the Library of Congress, which is just across the street from the Capitol and just across the street from our office buildings. And they will put together reports for us about things that might be, pretty complicated. Maybe Nagorno-Karabakh or something like that. If you were a new member of Congress and you didn't know too much about that, and they sounded like, interesting words, but you don't even know where it's at or what it's got to do with. You can have the Congressional Research Service do a report for you there to better prepare you.
That's perfect. CRC and CRS, excuse me, and intelligence information you obtain, everyone else on the Hill can obtain too, before they speak, before they write. They can get their facts straight. So they do have that.
Yes.
They do have that opportunity.
Yes.
The Turkish American community, I would say, and I'm a second generation Turkish American. We love Turkey, the motherland, and we are passionate about the homeland, America. And we firmly believe that America's best partner in the region is Turkey, and it's based on certain criteria, such as a large population, a young population, 82 million, a secular democracy, strong, diverse economy, second largest military in NATO, a massive humanitarian capacity. At this time, Turkey is hosting more than 4 million refugees, for example, and proportionally speaking to its population, that is a huge undertaking. And of course, being unmatched in its geostrategic location. What can Turkish Americans do to make what we think of these as self-evident truths to be better understood and appreciated on the Hill despite negative lobbying? Would you say that the legislature can do a disservice to itself if it doesn't fully understand the full potential and full value that the Turkish people bring to the U.S.-Turkish partnership?
Yes, I do think that that occurs. I think we ought to get all the information, I would strongly urge members of the Turkish community to go to their member of Congress who actually they can vote for, they can vote against. And those are usually the most influential people, the people that we as politicians listen to much more. If I know the person came from my district and came up to Washington and discuss something, maybe it's one person out of a group of 5. That's okay too. But oftentimes I have groups come in and maybe there's one person from Ohio and everybody else is from New York. Well, it might be interesting, and I like to be educated about issues I may not be particularly familiar with, but there's nobody from my district, so they can't vote for me or against me. And I'm just telling you, the instincts of a politician are you don't pay quite as much attention. So what my recommendation would be is when you're going in, setting up a meeting, do your best to try to find somebody who actually lives in that district who could vote up or down for the member of Congress. That's something that gets our attention.
Yeah. Well, Ohio has a strong Turkish American and a Hıska Turkish American group. The Hıskas are refugees from Russia that the United States has accepted in various parts of America, including Ohio, for example, and Kentucky. Definitely the Turkish American community will be in your district visiting you, constituents included. We have a growing Turkish American community, as I stated, and one thing that's really caught our attention as a Turkish American community is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I kind of keep this discussion simple, almost like a civics course in high school for my community. But we particularly like the part that says, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And we wish this also for the motherland, the people of Turkey. What would you recommend our young people who are interested in civic engagement and government do? And more importantly, because we have a culture that's based on great respect to our elders, what would you recommend to their parents?
Well, be respectful, and you can't necessarily, you're not always going to convince other people that you're right or they're wrong, and that shouldn't be your goal. But to try to be friendly with people and try to give them the facts and be aware of what those facts are, and just treat people, with respect. That would be my best advice for parents to talk to their children. And I totally agree with you on that, on what you mentioned about one nation under God. You have some people in this country that want to remove God from politics or from government altogether. And that's not what our founders ever anticipated or ever wanted. They were not trying to say that religion can't be involved in government. What they were saying is that you can't have a national religion. You can't have one say that, well, we're all going to be Catholic in this country, or we're all going to be Lutheran, or we're all going to be Jewish, or whatever. That's not what it's all about. Our founders weren't for that. What they wanted to make sure is that everybody could practice their religion as they so wanted to do, but we wouldn't have a state religion where everybody had to belong to the same thing. And that sometimes gets mixed up. On that separation of church and state means taking all the religion out of the government, every bit, like off our money. Right above in the House of Representatives, where I've worked for the last 24 years, the Speaker of the House has a chair, and right above that chair, there's a saying that says "E pluribus unum," out of many one, and another that's actually on the ceiling, and the one behind the Speaker says under God, basically. So one nation under God, and that's in the Capitol building. So God is not removed from the public. It just means no state religion where we all have to follow the same religion.
Right. Well, with equality in the United States, definitely people have different beliefs. For the Turkish American community, I can say that spiritual well-being is important.
Yeah.
That God is important.
Yeah.
And it plays a lot, even in the secular families, such the family I come from, where religion has not played, or Islam has not played a very important part. My parents always say "God bless" or "May God be with you," and they really, really mean it. So also equality and justice for all is important in the pledge. And here, the Turkish American community is looking for more of more participation in the democratic process. We believe that equality is guaranteed for those who work hard for it by engaging the process. At this time, we're still in the learning process, but I think soon, the most of us are in the learning process, but there is a part of our community that is reaching out to the rest of the community saying, let's be more active in American government together in unity.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the Turkish American community become, more active. They're pretty active now, but even more so. And I just realized, I think I misspoke about there are various slogans. Some's on money, some's on here and there. The one behind the speaker says, "In God we trust." That's what it says up there. So,
okay. I think it's on the money. I think it's on our money too. So, but so I say, with respect to U.S.-Turkish relations, what do you see as the opportunities and the challenges?
Yeah, I think, we do have some challenges. Obviously, the Russian missile, defense program was one that, our military community and members of Congress too, were quite upset about that. We need to get beyond it. As you indicated before, Turkey is a very powerful country, a very important country in a very important part of the world, and has been a NATO ally and friend, and has sent troops on missions with the U.S. and other allies. So they've been a good partner for the most part for years and years and years now. But I think that we're going to have to get beyond that, the Russian missile, program. That's one where, I personally think the Turkish leadership made the wrong decision, but it's been made at this point, and I'm not sure that it's even possible to go back on that, although I would like to see that reversed.
Yeah. I don't know if reversal is impossible, but I do believe that air defense, such as through the provision of Patriots, has been a long discussion,
Yeah.
which has not been fruitful. I think the Turkish people want an air defense, and for a long time, I preferred the Patriot
Yeah.
missile. Um, Definitely, I think there's this conversation to be had there for the long term. The Turkish forces have led international forces twice now in Afghanistan and opened the doors to Somalia for both the United States and Europe to help that country stabilize and be productive. Um, and also was very active in the Balkans, particularly in Bosnia Herzegovina, and of course before that Korean War, helping South Korea avoid communism. Um, so with respect to Russian exertion of Russian power in the region, what we're seeing is a multipolar world developing, where you have Russia and you have China, you have the United States, perhaps kind of in unity or not with the European Union, which is looking for a purpose. How would you, what would you say about the importance of NATO within this multipolar development?
Yeah, I think NATO is still a critical alliance. I would encourage both Turkey and my country, the United States, to stay active and engaged and try to reform the organization from within. There are a lot of my constituents who have become over the years so fed up with NATO and the UN for that matter, that they just think we ought to pull out. I don't agree with that. I do think that we shouldn't have traditional human rights abusers like Cuba and North Korea, who end up on UN human rights committees, for example, and you got some of the worst world's human rights abusers that are making decisions for other countries across the globe. In summary, I would say that we ought to have the United States and Turkey working together, because we have a lot more in common than we do differences.
You're so right, and I think one of the strongest powers we have is the United States, well beyond our 700 military bases in the world,
Yeah.
and our capacity in space is our soft power.
Yeah.
We have people, for example, love blue jeans. It's simple, but it is a lifestyle that we're looking to show that we have more common than we have differences. We have pop culture of the United States, and this is what I think makes the United States strong in other countries. It's what makes the United States strong and credible and respectable in Turkey too. The not just the values, but how those values play out in lifestyles. And United States is a diverse group of people, huge, the most diverse. I always kind of used to compare it to Star Trek, that the spaceship was filled with all kinds of people. Turkey comes from that kind of a background too. It has more than 30 ethnic groups that are now Turkish citizens.
Right.
So how can what are some ideas you might have to project U.S. soft power more effectively abroad?
We do need to do a better job. We also need to, when we provide aid to various countries, we ought to make sure that people understand where it came from. I remember years ago seeing a photo of a man, and he is with a bag of food. It's been one of the, some sort of grain is in there, and he's looking at it says U.S. on there because it came from the United States, and there was a flag on there, American flag on there. again, this was a cartoon, and he's looking at it, and he said, well, this is so thoughtful of the Americans. They've given us food and a flag to burn, you know. So, and so too often, I think we don't use that soft power. You know, we're not changing enough hearts and minds. There's propaganda out there basically saying that the U.S. is just in it to, you know, make money for our businesses, or we want them to knuckle under our points of view. No, that's not really what the United States is about at all. You know, we think there should be some principles, you know, rule of law, you know, free and open markets, those kind of things that benefit all of us. But you know, we think countries get to determine their own policy, and we're there to help. And so I think the United States does a lot more good across the globe than we get credited for, especially in these trying times.
Right. It's kind of like a quiet giant sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
And it deserves so much more of the main stage. You know, and I reflect on U.S. presence in Turkey in this manner as well. Sometimes, though, Congressman Chabot, the mixed messages are mixed. The overwhelming commonalities and overwhelming benefits of the partnership can be overshadowed. At this time, I think we have more than 30 resolutions in Congress and the Senate that are not so favorable to Turkey, negative on Turkey. And they are brought on by lobby groups that have another agenda, as opposed to making Turkey the most perfect country in the world or in the region. There's something else, maybe to make life difficult for Turkey and the people of Turkey. And then when I compare those numbers to I would say, critical resolutions and laws regarding China or Russia or Saudi Arabia, they're less. And so that can send a negative message a wrong message, actually, to the people of Turkey. The people of Turkey want to be appreciated. They want to be in partnership, want to do good things together. But sometimes the message is contradictory. How can we work on changing the frequency, tone, and negativity of Congress's general sense about Turkey?
Well, we've got to have open communications, and there were some, you know, a few incidences that happened that did hurt the relationship. Obviously, you know, all the violence that took place down outside the embassy some years ago. You know, that was something that got out of hand, and there was some misinformation out there. But overall, the facts, you know, to some degree spoke for themselves. There were cameras, there was footage, but it didn't show everything. And so that's something that had to be dealt with. And the other big issue, you know, remains to be the Russian missiles, and deciding to go there rather than purchase them from the United States. And I think that's one of the biggest obstacles we still face. You know, but we're allies. You know, we should be on the same page, and so we need to work together to overcome those particular shortcomings.
That's right. Like again, I think Russian missiles, I don't think the conversation has ended. I think more in the forefront of everyone's understanding is, why haven't we provided air missile defense to Turkey, who really needs it? Whereas we've easily provided it to other countries that don't need it. What comes to mind is Romania, for example, a recent acquisition. The Turkish American community can serve as a bridge builder. The Turkish American National Steering Committee can serve as a voice of that bridge in these times. This is why we are, with TASCTV, reaching out to leaders as yourself, to also have dialogue with you, but also to seek your guidance on how to make this relationship strong. The Turkish caucus is a very important player. and we thank you for leading that with your 3 other colleagues. The caucus can also serve as a bridge builder, a group that brings more information, not less, more information to decision makers so that there's informed decision making. The Azerbaijan caucus is important too. It might be productive for the Turkish and the Azerbaijan caucus leaders to come together these days and to discuss U.S. role in the Caucasus. Definitely, this is considered, maybe incorrectly, the backyard of Russia, but that's just a Soviet concept. Soviet empire is over. And, you know, we had the Soviet embassy on Wisconsin Avenue for years. And I always wondered way back, you know, when the Soviet Union was going to dissolve, who was going to get that building? And it's Russia that got that building.
Yeah.
It wasn't Kazakhstan, it wasn't Azerbaijan or Armenia or Georgia. It was Russia that got that building. Everyone else was out there for themselves. The Soviet Union, in a way, was a program to exploit those other countries for the benefit of Russia. So today, I don't think we can call the Caucasus the backyard of Russia anymore unless we want to continue with the Soviet concept. And Armenia can definitely seek more independence from Russia. It has a military agreement with Russia. And I think this is, through Turkey, an excellent opportunity for United States leadership in the region, if not direct. So is there a discussion about U.S. role, the U.S. role? No, there is a discussion definitely with respect to Afghanistan and to Iran. But what about with respect to the Caucasus?
Yeah, there is a discussion going on now. We're getting into an area that, you know, a lot of members of Congress, unless they're on the Turkish caucus or they're on the Foreign Affairs Committee or the Middle East Subcommittee, may not know a lot about it because it doesn't get huge amounts of press coverage back here in the United States. And so our constituents who we answer to don't necessarily know too much about it or care too much about it. So I think what I would recommend is that the, you know, Turkish community take that on as an issue to try to educate their people, writing letters to the editor and you know, various other ways that one can, you know, social media, and elevate that amongst the population. And then politicians, people like myself, will pay more attention to it because our people will care more about it, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. And these are important issues. All the issues on the borders of Turkey are very important to Turkish Americans. And we believe that there are systems out there to resolve these issues peacefully, productively, for the longer term interests of the entire region. Bringing people together is key. And maybe we should start that here in the United States, bringing the stakeholders together, Turkish Americans and other hyphenated Americans from the region. Congressman Chabot, tell us about what's going to happen. Where are we headed? Elections are coming, COVID-19, and we are tired of quarantining ourselves. And we just want a normal life again.
I'm totally with you. And obviously, if the President of the United States can get it, anybody can get it. Right. Looks like he's going to be okay. He and the First Lady, you know, we hope. Things could still take a turn for the worse, but it's looking pretty good right now. And we need to get beyond this pandemic, but we're not there yet. The virus is still out there in this country and other countries across the globe. So we still do need, you know, to take common sense measures to keep us and our families and our friends and associates safe, which, you know, basically means social distancing, washing hands, wearing a mask when like, you know, we don't have to have one on right now, but if we get together face to face, we got to put those masks on. So, you know, I think the president in stressing the private sector and kind of turning the regulatory restrictions, turn those off, I think we're going to have a vaccine, a safe and effective vaccine a lot sooner than would normally be the case. I think way before this thing's been around for a year, we're going to be treating people that will cure them from the disease. That's my understanding of what I'm hearing up here.
Well, I think getting that vaccine to frontline population densities is critical. And also the mental health of our children are very important. I'm coming back to you as you're a teacher at heart. We got to keep our children healthy thinking. In my county in Maryland, where I live, we're starting sports programs. Yeah. And I can't see how they do it, but they do it because they want to get out of the house. I see kids playing sports with masks on. So, but we think it's healthy for them to be out and about.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We need to get the schools reopened safely. We need to get our businesses reopened safely, and get America moving again. The COVID's going to be with us for a while. We've learned how to treat it and reduce the symptoms and reduce fatality rates. They're not going to go down to zero overnight, but we can be heading in the right direction. Right. But at the same time, we need to save this economy, make sure that people are able to work and support themselves, and most importantly, support their families.
Yeah, the assistance that the government has provided to small businesses has been very helpful. The Turkish American community is thankful for that. They have applied for the protection, paycheck protection, and they have received funding, task assisted in the process so they could stay above the water. And what makes this country very appealing to people who want to come here and live here is the economy plus its freedoms. Yep. So put that together, it's a great place, and we can't let COVID, we believe in the Turkish American community, stop that. The Turkish American community has gone through a lot of struggles. Our grandparents went through a lot of struggles, and we're used to struggling, but we think we will overcome this, and the economy will be good, people will be free, and we just are looking to leaders to sometimes give us that morale, so to speak.
Well, I would encourage people to go out and reclaim their lives, but do it safely. Right. That's the important thing. Social distancing, mask, washing hands. I know I've already said that and sound like a broken record, but we ought to automatically do those things. Yeah.
No, the Turkish American National Steering Committee has contributed through its medical professionals hundreds of thousands of masks.
That's tremendous.
In the Northeast and in the Mid-Atlantic. And we have contributed tens of thousands of surgical suits. No, we're in this safely to stop the spread, and we're in this safely to win this, win over this, get over this virus, this disease. We look forward to that, and I think there's we have glimmers of hope in the close horizon. Congressman Chabot, what about your family? Tell us about that. Family's really important to us.
Yeah, people are doing pretty well. My wife, we've been married almost 48 years now, and she's doing well. We did have a new addition to our family, a new dog, just last week. So
congratulations.
Our dog Sparky unfortunately passed away of old age last year. He was almost 16 years old. A little white Bichon Frise. So we got a new little white Bichon Frise last week. This one's just a puppy. I can't wait till he's house trained and doesn't bark at night. But he's cute as the dickens. But that's the pet department. Our children are doing fine. Our daughter's up in Watertown, New York. Our son's up in Chicago. We've got 2 grandchildren so far, and they're both doing great. A little grandson, a little granddaughter. And I couldn't be happier or prouder of them. So, family's doing well. And I hope all your families, all those that are participating here today, I hope you and your family and your loved ones are all doing well as well.
Thank you, sir. We've coming to the conclusion of our program. Like I said, family is very important to us, and we do everything to support family in and if our family's good, but another family's not so good, we help them. And that's why we distributed food boxes to 40,000 families in the New Jersey, New York region. Family first is what we said.
That's tremendous. Congratulations, and thank you so much for that. That's great to hear.
Thank you. I thank all our medical professionals and our small business owners for making the donations that made that happen.
That's wonderful.
So we are taking ownership of our country, America, and we want to be productive members. We want to integrate into the society, and do our very best for today and for the future, and particularly all children of America.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Lydia. As always, as I mentioned before, she's a great advocate for all things Turkey, and we rely upon her knowledge and expertise and honesty, really, probably more than any other person in Washington that I've met with and dealt with over my 24-year history. And that helps Turkey, really. It's
right on. It does.
Put me in a position, to be able to help both our countries. And I think, when the United States is doing well, that's good for Turkey. When Turkey's doing well, that's good for the United States. And so we need to continue to work together. Excellent.
Well said. Thank you, Congressman Chabot.
Thank you.
I thank your team, Mackenzie. I thank our community members who are activists in making our voice heard, such as Lydia. And I thank my team for the IT and technical team for putting this together. This program will be shown widely. And like I said, we've reached 2 million viewers, and we always welcome constructive criticism as well as words of encouragement from our viewers and from our participants. We thank you again, sir. You be well. God bless you and your family and America.
Thank you. God bless everyone on here and your families as well. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.